Okay, so we're back. Yesterday we had some trouble. We had some audio trouble, and we got a lot of messaging from all of you tuning in. Kate, I couldn't hear really well, or it just didn't work right on LinkedIn. So I wanted to make sure that we could get right back to you with a recap, with the highlights of yesterday. Susan, you had so many important things to share with us, and I want everyone to know, if they missed any any audio glitching sections, that you know everything that we shared yesterday.
And I appreciate that because
Yes.
I loved yesterday's interview. I thought we really touched on some great information, and I think it's important we get this info out. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
My pleasure. Okay, so we talked about we'll leave it to be that a lot of women have a story, and not everyone's comfortable sharing it. Not everyone's at a different stage in their journey, but we want to make sure that they know specifically where to go get help. And we talked yesterday about a lot of bigger organizations that help, and they're inundated right now, but that you referred to them yesterday as the underdogs. There are other places, lots of other places where you can go get help. And we want you to know that, with She Deserves, Susan is providing things that, aren't just a quick fix. And it's not short term. She Deserves is helping really get you on your feet long term.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I agree with you that I what gosh, there's so much now it wants to come out because you touched on so many points there. I think what sets us apart is that there's a lot of resources out there, and usually the process is you go to them, they give you a list of resources that are appropriate for what you need. And that's great. It's great to have those resources in place. But when you are going through trauma, sometimes it's hard to take those steps to put those things in place when you're going through trauma. And we understand that with She Deserves. I have a story. I remember when I went through that, you just can't think straight. You are under so much stress, especially if you're fleeing like I was, when you're trying to figure out how to stay safe, how do you, and to then go through this list and try to find the resources you need, that's a lot. So what we provide is advocacy, but also case management. We sit down with each case and figure out what exactly they need. We even identify where they're weak and maybe offer some support so that they can get these things done. And this has come and developed because of the need that we saw. That this problem is much bigger than I think many people think of.
Right.
We're so grateful that the big dogs are in place. They're doing great work. These are the organizations that everybody's referring to. Other organizations are referring these victims to these resources. But the problem is so big that they're inundated, and there's this overflow. Right. Where's this overflow going to? And so that overflow is going to smaller organizations that many people aren't even familiar with. I call them the underdog organizations. We are one of them. And we recently saw that in a recent case we just took on that we normally do not handle, but it was one of those overflow cases. They could not help her. They were inundated with too many cases, too many victims coming their way, and it was an overflow case. So I love that you're taking the time out to even bring that to awareness, because those are the organizations that everybody thinks of and wants to support, but we also have to consider those smaller organizations.
So another key takeaway that I loved yesterday was that you help women get back to when you were you, when it was a happy time, when you felt normal. When can you remember back? And you said it might have been high school, it might have been college, it might have been, you pull out some pictures. Where are you smiling? Where were you most happy? And it's usually before this occurred, before this person was in your life before all of this started. I love that. I think that that is just tremendous. And that leads me to this. You and I have really been talking a lot about this, and we had people reach out yesterday after, after the fact. So it just shows you how immediate the need is and how prevalent this is. Starting something where people can share their story,
Mhm.
and have a voice. And we talked about possibly, challenging everyone or giving everyone a call to action after having seen this. Reach out. We want to hear from you. We want to start a movement. And we talked about yesterday, you talked about the women who had done that video and just how moving it was, because it was the first time that they shared their story. That
Right.
it's so cathartic to be able to get that off your chest, to, lift that burden. And sometimes it takes telling the story more than once, and having people who've been through a similar situation, who can empathize, who can sympathize, who can share, a shoulder to cry on, a me too, whatever, whatever the case may be. So, um, my turn.
I
My
like
turn.
that. My turn. That's a good idea, and we need more suggestions like that, because what we're seeing on our end, that we can't even move them forward until we start the healing process. Part
Yes.
of that healing process is identifying, or telling their story. We need to open up that wound and start the healing process,
Yeah.
because if it doesn't heal, if they don't heal correctly, they never really function or have the correct sustainability. It doesn't kick in right, because they haven't healed properly. So sharing the story, not even so much sharing the story, just talking about what has happened. It doesn't have to be sharing a story. We need to start those conversations
Mhm.
and start talking about what is going on, what has happened to you, and let's start there and start the healing process. I
Right.
know you touched on something else, which is another part of the healing process. And one of the things we keep seeing in our cases is, and this is my personal experience, I believe there are givers and takers.
Yeah.
The world is made of that, givers or takers. Which are you? Are you a giver or are you a taker? I'm a giver, and a lot of these victims that we're talking to are givers. And what happens is they give up so much that they even give up themselves,
Right.
and they have lost themselves. And so some of our case management also includes, we need to find you, because all of we need to have you start focusing on what you need and what you want, and how to get peace in your life. Do you understand what that is, and what is it? I ask all of our cases, what do you need? They have no idea. They
Right.
have no idea what they need, what they want, or what would bring peace, because they have lost themselves. So then we have to go back and say, let's go find who you are. You have lost who you are. Let's find that person. And sometimes that means visiting those pictures and finding that in that timeline where you lost that, and then try to and identify how you got in this situation and make those changes so you don't fall back into that situation. So thank you for bringing that up, because yes, it's all about conversation right now.
Mhm.
This is much bigger than everybody's anticipating or thinking or realizing or even wanting to talk about. And we have to have these conversations, because there are people suffering all around us, everywhere, in our schools, in our communities, in our
Yeah.
churches, in, next door, in our families, that are suffering and not having conversations about this. So I'd love to hear what people have to say about how we can start this movement. How do we start these conversations?
Right.
I love your suggestion. My turn. Should that be a hashtag? Let's start these conversations.
Yep. Yep. So, two calls to action. My turn. Share your story, get in touch, reach out, get involved. And by getting involved, let's also talk about how, maybe someone who doesn't necessarily have a story but knows someone. I mean, this touches everyone's life in one way or another. how can you help? I'm sure you feel some type of wanting to be involved, wanting to help. And you mentioned yesterday, maybe you're an attorney and you can help, volunteer your time with services some way. Or maybe, I don't know, what are some other examples of things that you might need with She Deserves, and how can people possibly get involved to help?
So yes, our wish list is a little bit different than other organizations. Most typical organizations say donate money, and we're very community driven. So we are always providing opportunities that you can get involved. It doesn't have to necessarily be a monetary donation.
Right.
There are ways that you can get involved by bringing your in-kind donation of your services, your knowledge, your skills. That's going to help us move forward. That's going to help us help more people, because we obviously need we need to be a village of
Yes.
people that are helping the weak. And so we can't do this all alone. If we have to pay people to do these services, these acts, these services, then that's taking away from the women. I
Right.
don't get paid for this. Every donation that does come in 100% goes to our women. We are even starting to set up where when you make a donation, you can actually choose a woman that it's almost like adopting her.
Oh,
And so we're providing all this transparency on where she's at in her life process. And you can watch that and see where that money's going. That money goes directly to the ladies. And we want to keep doing that. And the only way we can keep doing that is everyone has a skill.
yes.
Everybody knows someone. Who do you know that we should know?
Mhm.
Let's make that connection. We are going through our growing pains. There is room for everyone to jump in and bring something to the table. If you can bring something to the table that can help us grow and help more women, let's chat, let's talk. And I definitely want to meet more people and make more connections, because that's the only way we're going to grow.
Yeah.
If you don't have that time, or then yes, you're more than welcome to make a monetary donation, and I can match you up with one of the ladies, and you can even see where that's going as
Right.
far as how you're helping her.
I love being able to track that progress. That's really, you know, I just love that. That's something that I've never seen before, and what a great feature to be able to
It's
watch
probably out of
that.
the ordinary. I haven't seen any, but that this is all fueled from my passion. I'm
Yes.
not for a paycheck, so I just see a need, and these women women and men are struggling, and we can the littlest things. And I always like to share this story, our recent case where the woman was homeless, and we got her in an apartment, and she moved in with only her suitcase.
Wow.
We put a call out within the community.
Right.
She doesn't even have drinking glasses. She doesn't have even utensils. I want everybody to go in their basement right now and see what excess you have. And when you see it, I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing with it? And
Yeah.
everybody says, I don't know. I don't know well, why do you have it? I don't know, in case I need it. Well, now you have a family that needs it. And yes, you can donate to Salvation Armies and all those wonderful organizations that collect those things. But this is your opportunity to help one specific family and see how you have helped them. And that's what the community has responded, that they love that. They love that when we take pictures of the little girl's room, and now she has a bed in there. Now we're working on little girl sheets for her because someone donated little boy sheets. They're happy they have sheets, but yeah,
Oh,
it'd be cute to have little girl sheets in there, don't you think? And so those people that are involved in this case, the community members that are involved in this case, are actually seeing the progress, and they're part of that progress.
that's awesome. I love it. Okay, so we're going to wrap today. I'm glad we got a chance to recap this after yesterday. I think a lot of people were still like, well, what happened? What went wrong? Technology, we did the best we could, but we wanted to give you this opportunity to really hear what Susan had to share. So I'm glad we both had a couple minutes to recap yesterday's talk. And again, call to action. Please get involved. Please share your story, help, reach out, whatever you feel called to do. Know that we're here. and we
Right.
would love to hear from you. And maybe even me directly if you know somebody else who is doing something like Susan, and this is a platform for me to be able to help you. Let me know. Reach out directly. So, we wish you all a great day, and thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, and we appreciate you, Katie, for doing this and creating this platform to help spread the word.
My pleasure.
We look forward to hearing from everybody. Thank you.
Take care.